Hey guys, this is Dean from Wafflypie, and today I finally got to play the Halo Infinite campaign. After 3 years since its announcement and 1 whole year past its original release date, it's finally out, and I got a few hours into it. I have to say that I'm not disappointed. I wouldn't call myself a super fan of it. It's nowhere near Halo 2 or 3 to me quite yet, but I still have a bit of it to go. I feel like a lot of the hype around Halo Infinite was centered around the multiplayer, and the campaign kind of took a backseat to that. So there wasn't a whole lot of expectation for the campaign, and it didn't have much to live up to, but it did. It did live up to what it had. As far as I'm aware, basically all the material that we had going into it was the E3 trailers. They had a couple of cutscenes, and they said that those were going to be in-game cutscenes. They were not like promotional material, and they were in the game, but my worry was that I would start the game up and it would be the cutscene of Echo 216 finding Master Chief, and then the Pelican comes down and he gets in the Warthog like in the 15 minutes of gameplay trailer, and then you go up the elevator or whatever they did in that trailer. Fortunately, it's not that way. There is like an introductory mission. There's more exposition than just that as an opening cutscene, and so I'm very pleased with that. For how much is going on, the graphics are pretty good. They are comparable to multiplayer. Most of the campaign experience is comparable to multiplayer. The sound of all the vehicles is really good. Almost all the guns function exactly the same. I don't know why they wouldn't, but actually there is one difference, and that's that every gun has an ammo type. And so while they can only be restocked from the exact same weapon, there are also these like boxes on the ground that you can refill a certain type of ammo. So there's kinetic ammo, plasma ammo, shock ammo, and hard light ammo. I did experience a few glitches. Most of them were physics related. Like if I destroyed a shade turret, the occupant would be trapped in part of the wreckage and they would just kind of spin around. Sometimes I kill something and it would fall through the floor, and if it was like a platform, I could go under and see them dangling. There's also a couple graphical glitches that I saw. Sometimes there would just be a gun lying on the ground that looked strange, or certain animations that enemies would make caused parts of them to like spaghetti out. I feel like for the scope of the game, and considering that it's the very first day that it is out, I don't think they hampered my gameplay experience that much. In terms of how the game stacks up to other Halo games campaigns, it's definitely a little less focused. There's not a clear goal right out from the start like there is in most of the other ones. There's only a few core characters that you interact with. I think as far as I am in the game, it's only Echo 216 and the weapon. And a lot of people thought that Echo 216 was going to be like your main shot caller or like a kind of companion character, but he's not as involved as I thought he would be based on those. The weapon is definitely the voice that you hear. In terms of what's going on, it might be a little bit jarring compared to Halo 5, which had pretty much no bearing on the events of Halo Infinite. You can play Infinite without having played 5, pretty much without having played 4. It would help, I guess, if you understood what the UNSC Infinity is and why Cortana is being hunted, but aside from that, it's not a huge issue. The big thing is who are the Banished and why are there like brutes in charge of everything? And if you don't know about Halo Wars 2, then that could be a kind of an exposition gap that you're missing. It does explain it a little bit, but I think that considering that they're like the main antagonist faction, it could have been explained a little bit more. After you do your first couple tutorial-esque missions where you get introduced to the mechanics of the game and kind of learn how to walk around as Master Chief in Halo Infinite, you're thrown out into the big free roam area. And once you're there, you can kind of do whatever you want at your own pace. The whole map is littered with little objectives like go and help a UNSC squad, or pick up this armor customization thing, or clear out like a little checkpoint so that the UNSC has somewhere to regroup and you can call in vehicles or weapons or whatever you need. And this map is really, really big. It takes a long time to get from one end to the other, but it is just a tiny little chunk of the Halo ring that the game takes place on. I was expecting a little bit more out of it, but they don't have an unlimited budget for level design, which I guess is fair enough. So you go around and you kind of know where you're supposed to go, except once you get there it's not quite so clear that you have started a mission. I'm not even really sure if it's fair to say that there are missions in the game. There are objectives for sure, but once you get there, there's not really anything that separates that from free roam, and if you want, you can get halfway through the fight and then leave and come back later if that really suits your style. Sometimes the fight throws you into a building and that kind of locks you into more of a mission setting, but not always. So in terms of the difficulty of the game, it is kind of hard to place. I would honestly put it somewhere under Halo 2, but above whatever would be under Halo 2. In terms of the damage that you do, the enemies do not stand a chance. I'm playing on legendary difficulty, and most brutes take 2 bursts from a battle rifle to the head. Grunts, jackals, skirmishers, they all take 1 headshot like they should. Elites, maybe 3 bursts from the storm rifle, and then a headshot. If that, sometimes they just die from the storm rifle. The only thing is, you don't exist in a vacuum where you're the only one with a gun, and that damage comes back the other way as well. You take a hell of a lot of damage in Halo Infinite on legendary difficulty. I have been in a lot of situations where the enemies see me and I'm dead because they rip through your shield and your health doesn't stand much more of a chance. They have impeccable aim. The guns that the game outfits them with are at some points completely unfair. I've seen brutes with rocket launchers. A staple of them is the shotgun, which they can kill you at any range with basically. They are almost always in full crews worth of enemies and they will swarm you until you are dead. There's a lot of situations where there's no cover. When there is cover, the enemies like to sit completely still so that they don't show up on your motion tracker. There are sniper jackals in the game that are not much better than in Halo 2. And unless you're comfortable with using up all the ammo from your power weapons, there's not much point to carrying them because they're not too much more effective against a typical enemy, and with them you're kind of defenseless against suicide grunts or the brutes that run really, really fast, or even vehicles at some points. Although the grapple hook and just hijacking them makes vehicles kind of trivial. There are a lot of points where you go into a room and you have to press a button or something. So you clear out all the enemies in the room. They stop spawning. You're completely safe. You go up and press the button, and then a bunch of doors open and more enemies come in. And it's kind of like they're just baiting you and like it's a trap, but it's always a trap. Every single time. So that can get a little bit ridiculous. but once you know it's coming, it's not that big of a shock and you can deal with it pretty easily. I'm not sure which skulls are in the game, and I am interested in finding out so that I can see how difficult a lasso run would be. But skulls are another collectible, and so you do have to go out and find them. And they're pretty well hidden. I haven't found a single one. So keep that in mind. You can't just start with the skulls on. Although, I don't think it would be a very good choice even if you could, because this game does have boss fights in it. And they're not like the just the Warden Eternal fight in Halo 5. They're very distinct from each other. Each one has their own strength. They kind of have a weakness, which is typically just a piece of equipment. But it's not exactly a weakness. The reason I say you wouldn't want to go into a boss fight with skulls on for your first time is because on legendary difficulty, they are insane. Most of the bosses can 1 or 2 shot kill you, and the ones that don't instantly kill you don't have much time between their attacks. Most of the ones that I've fought so far had some kind of dash or like a sprint, and they could just catch up to me no matter how far I tried to get from them. They all have an energy shield, and their energy shield will recharge after some time if you don't continually damage them. And that can be really, really annoying when you're 3/4 of the way through the fight and see that they get their full shield back. Bosses operate pretty much with built-in tilt, as in the plasma weapons are pretty much the only thing that are going to do any damage against their shield. And once it's down, headshots from precision weapons are pretty much going to be the only thing you can do. Even with the matching guns, you don't do a lot of damage. Most of the fight comes down to just running away from them and then taking a couple shots and running away again, because it's not a fair fight. They will win if given the chance. So all in all, I think that Halo Infinite is pretty good. Obviously there's no multiplayer campaign, they said that, and it won't be coming for a couple months. The campaign does seem quite a bit longer than the other ones. It says that I have 4 hours in it, and I'm only 15% of the way through, probably also including collectibles, but I've picked up a good deal of them. So, assuming that that 4 hours is at 15% of the campaign, that's 30-ish, a couple more than 30 hours, which is more than your typical Halo game. And I'm kind of interested in seeing where the plot goes. It had some interesting moments right before I stopped playing today. So hopefully these lead to some pretty big plot points that add a whole bunch to the Halo universe in kind of the same way that Halo 1 and Halo 2 did. And we end up seeing a story that kind of rivals the original 3 Halo games in terms of core Halo experience. So I'll definitely keep playing, and I'm excited to find out what happens as the game progresses. So until next time, guys, this has been Dean from Wafflypie. Peace.